Do you have what it takes to make $100 an hour with a side hustle that doesn't require a college degree? Because you have to see this. I've been mobile detailing cars for a while now, and I've done thousands of dollars in jobs. The truth is, of course you have what it takes, because I'm just a regular guy from Louisiana. But you don't even know how, so I'm going to teach you the 7 simple ways under 7 minutes. Trust me, you're not going to regret it. Landing the right customer absolutely takes the cake when it comes to charging for a service, and this is because regardless of how much money you want to make on a job, the real decider is the customer. If you have a customer who is low income, you start to see a decrease in value of things like keeping a car clean. This of course isn't an absolute case all around the board. This is just my personal experience from before I knew 𝗤𝘂𝗂 allowed me to check out street views of the homes I was landing jobs in, but that's not all it does. 𝗤𝘂𝗂 is giving away this Ford work truck in a few weeks to a premium or platinum subscriber of 𝗤𝘂𝗂, so if you need help keeping up with customers, sending estimates, invoices, or collecting payments, give 𝗤𝘂𝗂 a try for free. Just click the link in the comment section and the description of this video. 𝗤𝘂𝗂 is the fastest way to send estimates, invoices, and secure payments from your customers, to even provide you with real-time business analytics such as close ratios, sales, and expense tracking. Now back to what I was saying. When I was first starting out, I would pass flyers absolutely anywhere I could, and this resulted in a lot of difficult customers, and when I use the word difficult, let me explain specifically. Most of these conversations will be spent on them trying to negotiate my prices, trying to knock my services, claiming they know another guy who would do it for half the price. This is of course in comparison to when I started getting selective with my advertising, because the customers were very accepting of my prices, which allowed me to learn what I could really charge for what I was doing. Charging what I really deserved came along with learning what my process needed to look like in order for me to work smarter and not harder. Mobile detailing has a wide variety of services that you can offer if you choose to, and a variety of tools allowing you to complete those services. This is where I defer in my business operation to most, because I don't offer the crazy specific detail options some of these other guys do that's keeping them at jobs for 5 to 6 hours, which is absolutely going to cause burnout. Your process needs to be quick and efficient so you can bring the most value in the least amount of time. When I was first starting out doing details, I would spend 3 to 4 hours at jobs solely because I didn't know what I was doing. So when I say process, I mean you need to plan out and organize your whole wash strategy. For example, whenever I'm starting a job, I'm wiping down surfaces with a wet microfiber towel, then vacuuming everything, cleaning out the trash, etc. You should be doing the same thing for most jobs, and always having structure so things start to feel more routine and you'll eventually master it, and the time will go down from 4 hours to 3 hours, then 2. Finding your top dollar that most customers are going to pay is something that I struggled with for months. The real issue is feeling confident enough to charge higher prices because you know your work is going to back it up. Not to say that my earnings doubled, but once I stopped being desperate for every single dollar and got more selective and confident, easier jobs and higher prices came my way very quickly. A good rule of thumb though is to find the fine line on the scale between too cheap that you start to get bad customers and too expensive that those high ticket rich customers are the ones that you need and don't come often. This not only protects your hourly earnings but opens you up to a large customer base of people who want pretty basic packages and aren't willing to spend $300 to $500 on a car detail. Think about stores that sell clothes or items for cheaper prices with the assumption that you'll buy more. These stores are cheap because they want to open themselves up to a wider demographic of people, but you need to keep it within reason. I charge high enough that I can weed people out who wouldn't be good customers, but not too much to where I'm having to force myself to stick to the highest ticket buyers. There was one point during my price transition where I finally felt good charging higher amounts for my work, but the prices I'd given to old customers hadn't changed. I had somebody who we're going to call Mr. Ben. Well, Mr. Ben had me clean his wife's massive dirty Suburban, which I priced for $125, which I now would have been more upwards of $185 to $200. So a couple weeks after I cleaned his wife's car, he was in love with the transformation and asked me for a quote for his vehicle, which was a smaller dirty Mazda. Typically around this new time when I changed my prices, I would have charged $125 to $130, which I'd done his wife's car much cheaper, so I was screwed. In the end, he disliked the quote, or he just didn't like that his wife's car, double the size, would have been around the same price, and declined the offer but said he would use me again for the wife's car. The trouble here is that if you wait too long to understand where your price should fall on this scale, you run into trouble or potentially lost old customers who you gave your original prices to. Listen, I hope you guys are still watching, and you have to be if you want to make some serious money with such an easy side hustle. I want you to stick around because the second half of this video is going to give you the sauce you need, and I can tell you're somebody who wants to learn. Another way that I've found allows you to broaden your strategy to making the most money you can is by setting up travel fees. In my personal experience, the customer is very understanding about the fact that you add a little bit of additional depending on how far they are. The only times I start adding these in is when the customer starts to get up to 30 minutes plus away from my house. I like to stick around $10 to $15 for every 30 minutes that it takes you to get there, and this may seem inconvenient, but that number can vary depending on what kind of vehicle you have. Obviously, if you have a large truck with a rig behind it and you're driving an hour away, you will need to charge more. This isn't to say go crazy and start finding jobs 2 hours away so that you can cash out on the drive up. Driving far to service a client is absolutely not going to be fun, but this is about maximizing profit. And in the case of explaining to the customer, say that you've added a small travel fee because of X amount of distance, I can't imagine there are going to be pushback. This is of course assuming the customer is within the scale that I mentioned previously. Following that, it's very important that you provide this service mobile. I preach that trying to take your side hustle to a shop route is going to crush you in overhead. You might say, wow Matt, why wouldn't I want to scale my business as high as possible? And that's because instead of killing it as a side hustle, you went and tried to make it your career. Also, you now incur electricity costs, labor, possibly security, and mortgage alone. A friend of mine has been with a detail service for a long time, and no doubt they do very good work. They've been in business for a while and they have a solid process, but they offer mobile and in-house appointments. They had to start running mobile jobs because they couldn't keep up with the amount they had to pay every month just to keep their shop above water. Now, this has nothing to do with the quality of their service. This is solely hurting them because of the amount of overhead is simply too much. Therefore, their prices had to go up and their clientele base got smaller. Staying mobile is going to be the best advice I can give you throughout this whole video. Trust me, I've seen the stressors it can place on a small, thriving business. The final piece that I'm going to give you is some little ways that I've gone about work to make sure I reach myself a minimum of $100 an hour. Somebody's going to comment, gosh man, I do XYZ and make $100 an hour and I don't have to clean people's cars. My response to that is, cool, I'm 19 years old and if you're at such a point where you have a career, then good, but I'd like to think I could make much more than $100 an hour when it's time for my career. In order to start reducing your time per job, you need to first establish what your time per job is, so pay close attention to the clock when you start and when you finish. Or you of course have the option to set a timer and figure it out that way, whatever works best, and this is raw time working, not including pickup, but that's up to you. Some people have bigger setups than others. Your other option is to provide things that make up for taking longer to complete jobs, such as alternative service like carpet cleaning and stain removal. Thank you guys so much for watching. I couldn't do it without the supporters. Shout out to the War Generals for starting his own trash can cleaning business for my videos. Comment down below you guys if you have any questions y'all might have, and tell me if you have any success with this. I'd love to know. The word that you're also going to comment today is mobile. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Also, like the video and subscribe for $1 million or another fist bump.